Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and this is another new video, and we'll be starting with the third chapter of human physiology, that is body fluids and circulation. So today we'll be covering just a small part, that is the constitution of blood, etc. And in the next class we'll be covering blood grouping and the structure of heart and all of that. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so body fluids and circulation. As you know, there are a lot of substances produced in our body which have to be taken from one place to another. For example, oxygen or nutrients from our stomach. So the function of this transportation is done by certain body fluids in higher organisms like humans. But if you say small organisms like porifera and coelenterata, that is sponges and everything, they have a special water ka vascular system in which water is taken across their body cavities, and hence all these substances are given to different cells of the body. But you know that humans are really complex, so they need a special system of circulation, and this is enabled by a few body fluids. One of them you know very well, that is blood, and the second thing you must have heard too, that is lymph. So today we'll be starting with blood. Now blood is a connective tissue. It's a specialized fluid connective tissue. Fluid meaning liquid state mein hai. Now blood contains basically a fluid matrix and plasma and formed elements. Now let's start with what plasma constitutes. Plasma is making up about 55% of our blood, and is 55% mein 90 to 92% is water, and proteins make up 6 to 8%. Now there are different kinds of proteins also. There is fibrinogens. Fibrinogens are used for blood clotting. And now there is globulins. Globulins are used for our defense mechanism of the body to phagocytize cells. And the third one is albumins. Albumins is used to maintain the osmotic balance of our body. You know that our body has different electrolytes and waters, so hence the osmotic balance keeps changing as we urinate or as the products of our body are excreted. So albumins help in maintaining the osmotic balance of our body. So you just have to know the functions of these three. Then comes electrolytes. It has several electrolytes like Na+, Ca2+, or Mg2+, HCO3- and chlorine ion. And it also has glucose and amino acids, because these glucose and amino acids are usually transported throughout the body at all times. So they always have some amount of glucose and amino acids present in them. So these are the four components of plasma. Now from plasma, if you remove the clotting factor, you know that clotting factor is fibrinogen, it helps in clotting. So if you remove this from plasma, plasma minus clotting factor will give you serum. You just have to remember this term. Now let's come to formed elements. Formed elements तुमने बचपन से पढ़ा है. RBCs, WBCs and platelets. RBCs are red blood cells, WBCs white blood cells, and platelets are those which help in clotting of blood. So let's start with RBCs. RBCs, इसका technical term है erythrocytes. And these formed elements, obviously they form 45% of our blood. So RBCs are in a large number in blood, and that's why our blood looks red. So there's about 5 to 5.5 million RBCs per meter cube of blood. Per meter cube. Okay, and RBCs contain obviously the most famous pigment, that is hemoglobin, and hemoglobin gives the red color which RBCs possess. And these are formed in the bone marrow of some long bones, and they can be formed in many other places, but majorly they're formed from bone marrow, and they have a lifespan of 120 days, and after 120 days they die off, and their graveyard, or where they die off, is known as spleen. And spleen is this structure which is located in your abdominal cavity. You'll be learning about it because it's important for it's a lymphoid organ which is used for our defense mechanism. So that's about RBCs. Also RBCs in mammals are anucleated, मतलब उनका nucleus नहीं होता. The mature RBCs don't have a nucleus. And also you have to remember the count of hemoglobin in blood. So there's about 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin in 100 ml of blood. So these are the major information you have to remember from RBCs. Now let's go to white blood cells. White blood cells are white in color because they don't have hemoglobin, but they have a nucleus. Unlike RBCs, RBCs don't have a nucleus, they have a nucleus, they don't have hemoglobin, and they are less abundant. So they're about 6,000 to 8,000 WBCs per meter cube of blood. And compared to RBCs, that's really red because that's 5 to 5.5 million, and this is just 6,000 to 8,000. Now, WBCs are of many types. Majorly, it's granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes are divided into neutrophils and eosinophils and basophils, and agranulocytes are divided into monocytes and lymphocytes. Okay, neutrophils are the most abundant WBCs. They're about 60 to 65%, and they're involved in our immunological activities or for defense of our body to fight microorganisms. Eosinophils are named because they are stained by acidic dye, and basophils are stained by basic dye. Basic dye matlab just assume methylene blue. So it's a basic dye. So when you put these elements in a basic dye, they're stained, matlab they get a color, and that's why they get their name. Eosino is another name for acid. You can also call them acidophils, but in NCERT they've mentioned it as eosinophils. So eosinophils and basophils. Basophils are now the least amount of RBCs which are present. WBCs. They're about 1.5 to 1% of basophils in our body. And then we have eosinophils, monocytes and neutrophils together. Monocytes are about 6 to 8%. Monocytes and neutrophils together perform the defense activities of our body. Defense activities matlab they help in phagocytization of cells. Phagocytization matlab eating the cell or killing unwanted cell. So that is the function of neutrophils and monocytes. Now what basophils do is they're involved in inflammatory reactions, and they produce certain substances like heparin, histamine, serotonin, which are very important for our body function. They're vasodilators, some of them, and some of them are vasoconstrictors. Vasodilators matlab they increase the width of our blood vessels, while vasoconstrictors reduce the width of our blood vessels. So yeah, basophils produce those substances. Now eosinophils are 2 to 3%, and they resist infection, and they're also involved in allergic reactions. Let's come to the last one, lymphocytes. It's very important. They form about 20 to 25% of your WBCs, and they produce two kinds of lymphocytes, B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. B lymphocytes are produced from bone marrow, and T lymphocytes are produced from thymus. Thymus is another gland which is present in our body, and you learn about their functions in 12th in the chapter Human Physiology. But you should know that they're involved in the defense mechanism of our body, and they are very important for our immunity, our humoral and cell-mediated immunity. So yeah, that's it about WBCs. Let's come to platelets. Platelets are also known as thrombocytes. Yeah, so platelets are involved in clotting of blood. You know that when you get a cut, the blood doesn't keep flowing. It gets clotted at a point, and this is facilitated by platelets, and they're produced from these special cells in our bone marrow known as megakaryocytes. And they're about 50 per meter cube in blood. So they are slightly greater than WBCs, but yeah. So platelets are involved in our blood clotting, and that's it about the body fluid blood and its composition. We'll be starting with blood grouping in the next chapter, in the next session. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you so much for watching.